Hi, I'm Cheryl from the Barryville Area Arts Association. This video is for those who missed our August 2017 exhibit of Women of Song. We've done a few videos on the many women artists who are underrepresented in all of the art history books. And a while back, we had an entire exhibit of artwork created by women that men put their names on and offered as their own. So it wasn't surprising to us that there's a similar situation in the world of music. In the concise Oxford History of Music, Clara Schumann is the only woman composer who is ever mentioned. In August of 2017, we held a Woman of Song event where we put together a representative sample of the many talented female composers overlooked by the history books. And we found some of the same types of situations where men put their names on music composed by women, but we'll get to that later. This is illuminated from the Liber Scivias, and it shows Hildegard von Bingen having a vision and dedicating to her scribe. She's an example of a female composer from the medieval or Gothic period from 800 to 1400 AD. Hildegard was a German nun, more famous for other things than her composing. She wrote medieval, botanical, and theological texts, invented a language, and became a Roman Catholic saint. One of her works as a composer is the Ordo Virtuotum, or Order of Virtues, an early example of liturgical drama and possibly the oldest surviving morality play. We also know of 69 other surviving musical compositions, each with its own original poetic text. This one is one of the largest repertoires of medieval composers. This is Saint Cilici playing the lute by Orazio Giulianchi, painted in 1620. It is said to include the likeness of Maddalena Casulana, the first woman to publish her work in the Western world. She is an example of a female composer from the Renaissance period. Maddalena wrote her first work in Florence and 2 years later published her first book, the first book of Madrigals in Venice, which is considered the first musical work published by a Western woman. She is quoted as saying, "I wish to show the world, as far as I can in this musical profession, the mistaken vanity that only men possess the gifts of art and intellect, and that these gifts are never given to women." Catarina Saranda is a composer from the Baroque period, which is roughly 1600 to the 1750s. Through this, it is said to be in her likeness. The date and artist of this painting are unknown. Catarina is an Italian composer and also a nun. She became famous as an originalist and composed a number of motets and organ pieces. She also composed a collection of short pieces of sacred choral music, known as motets, in this new concertato style of music. Concertato music is a genre in which groups of instruments or voices share a melody, usually in alternation, and almost always over a continuous bass line. She also composed an 8-voice Salve Regina in 1611 and a motet called Listen to the Voice of the Lord for 4 voices in 1618. Catarina wrote traditional pieces as well as more innovative works, including The Two Angels. Her motet, Saving Today, was one of the first pieces to include a violin and bowed string instrument. The Lute Player by Orazio Gentileschi is presumed to be a portrait of Francesca Cassini. Francesca was another Renaissance composer, singer, lutenist, poet, and music teacher. Her singing for the wedding of Henry IV of France and Maria de' Medici in 1600 was praised by the king, who called her the best singer in all of France. She worked in the Medici court as a teacher, chamber singer, rehearsal coach, and composer of both chamber and stage music until 1627. By 1614, she was the court's most highly paid musician. Most of her stage music was composed for performance in comedies. In 1618, she published a collection of 36 solo songs and a soprano-bass duet. In 1625, she composed a 75-minute comedy ballad where she wrote a total of 16 staged works and was a master of dramatic harmonic surprise. Barbara Strozzi was also from the Baroque period, pictured here in the Viola da Gamba Player by Bernardo Strozzi. She was possibly the most prolific composer, man or woman, of printed secular vocal music in Venice in the middle of the century. Her output is unique in that it only contains secular vocal music, with the exception of one volume of sacred songs. She was renowned for her poetic ability as well as her ability to compose. Elisabeth Jacquet de la Guerre, another Baroque period composer, is pictured here in this 1700 painting. Elizabeth was a French composer, musician, and harpsichordist. A child prodigy, she performed on the harpsichord before King Louis XIV. She became a musician in the royal court, taught, and composed. She gave concerts at home and throughout Paris, to a great critical acclaim. She was one of the few well-known female composers of her time, and unlike many of her other contemporaries, she composed a wide variety of forms. Her work included ballet, opera, trio sonatas, harpsichord pieces, and vocal works drawn from scripture. From the Romantic period, we have Clara Schumann, from Franz de Lambach. As we noted earlier, she is the only woman mentioned in the concise Oxford History of Music. In the Understatement of the Century, the author writes, "During the 20th century, the women who were composing and playing gained far less attention than their male counterparts." Clara was a German composer and a concert pianist who had a 61-year concert career that drastically changed the format and repertoire of the piano recital, as well as tastes of the listening public. In 1830, at age 11, Clara became a virtuoso soloist, and she left on a concert tour of European cities. As a young adult in the late 1830s, she performed to sold-out crowds and critical acclaim. As it was also customary to play one's own compositions, she included at least one of her own works in every program. Her works include songs, piano pieces, a piano concerto, a piano trio, choral pieces, and 3 romances for violin and piano. Clara's personal challenges include a husband who was committed to an asylum for the last 2 years of his life. Finally, this is Fanny Mendelssohn by Moritz Daniel Ophim. Fanny Mendelssohn Hensel was one of the best-known women composers of the 1800s. Because of the prevailing attitudes towards women, she never got the same recognition as her brother Felix. Her own dad firmly believed that publishing music would only get in the way of her wifely duties of running her household. The siblings shared a great passion for music, and her brother Felix arranged for some of Fanny's songs to be published under his name, including 3 in his Opus 8 collection and 3 more in his Opus 9. In 1842, this resulted in an embarrassing moment. Queen Victoria was receiving Felix at Buckingham Palace and requested to sing her favorite song of his, Italian. To his credit, Felix confessed it was composed by Fanny. Fanny helped Felix with constructive criticism of pieces, and their correspondence reveals that operas attributed solely to Felix were really collaborations with Fanny. In recent years, her music has become better known thanks to concert performances and a number of CDs being released. Her legacy has also been advanced by those researching female music creativity, of which she was a well-documented example of. Thanks for joining us on this brief history of Women of Song. I'm Cheryl Lannon from the Barryville Area Arts Association. Thank you for watching.